Hey there, it's Tess Rouse and Christina Vitti. We're the co-hosts of Authentically Wild, a podcast that's here to shake up how you see life, relationships, and your healing journey.
This isn't your typical feel-good chatter. We're diving headfirst into the raw, real, and transformative conversations that can change everything you thought you knew about yourself and the life you're currently living.
Pulling back the curtain on our day-to-day lives, talking about relationships, parenthood, personal growth, trauma, and spirituality. Both of us have transitioned from lives that felt stuck and inauthentic to discovering a way of living that's raw, honest, and deeply healing.
The breakthroughs that we've had, they've been wild. And they're exactly why this podcast exists. We knew we couldn't keep these conversations to ourselves.
So if you felt lost, stuck, or like there's something more out there for you, this is your sign.
It's in the hardest, messiest seasons of life that we discover our truest selves. But here's the thing, the choice to dig in, that's all yours, baby.
So buckle up,
because shit's about to get wild. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. It is Christina, and I will be providing you with another beautiful solo episode this week. Apologies, because last week we were not able to provide you with an episode. You know, that has always been the intention since we restarted the Authentically Wild podcast again, since Tess and I restarted it, is to provide you with an episode every week. However, there have been some things that have shown up in Tessa's life, some really hard pieces, and she is taking some time for herself on her journey right now. And so I'm here with you this week, providing you with a beautiful solo episode. And so I hope that you will enjoy this one. This is a big topic, not only on my own journey, but something that I talk a lot about is the topic of hard decisions. I mean, making decisions for ourselves in itself can feel really hard, but then comes making hard decisions. And so what I want to provide you with today is a little bit of an overview on helping you understand the why behind them feeling so hard. I'm also going to share a little bit around my journey making hard decisions, because boy, oh boy, have I had to make quite a few tough ones. And then I would love to leave you with, first off, a process in helping you tap into deeper alignment to be able to make a hard decision, as well as some important truths to remember when it comes to making these hard decisions. So, let's dive right in. Why are these decisions so hard to make sometimes? And I've really explored this piece because I've had to make some really tough decisions on my journey. And what I've come to realize is that there is this element of trust that is involved when it comes to making our hard decisions. Trust in ourselves, trust in the unknown, right? That uncertainty of not knowing what's going to happen after the hard decision. There's a trust in taking the leap and that you will be caught by the universe, by however you want to term it, God, source, but that you will be caught. But we don't actually get to see that piece before we take the leap, before we make the decision, before we do the thing. And that is part of the trust muscle that is involved, that you grow every time you make these hard decisions. The other hard piece that shows up when it comes to these decisions that feel really hard is that there is a shifting from your external, from maybe the people in your life or your physical environment or the other things that are outside of you, to yourself, within yourself. Because in that hard decision, you have to do something for yourself in it. And that is going to feel really selfish for a lot of us, especially if you've had a lot of conditioning around putting yourself first makes you selfish, around being a good person. And when you're doing these things, that makes you a bad person because you're not thinking of others. Like, there's all these stories and conditioning around making these decisions that we sometimes need to make for our good, for our needs. But I really see this shift. It's truly out of a pattern of self-abandonment into self-loyalty. Because in the process of making that hard decision, you begin to choose you. And even saying that, check in with yourself, check in with your energy, check in with your body. What shows up for you? Is there some resistance there? Is there some stickiness, right? When I say that these decisions require you to choose you, What do you feel? Often there will be resistance to that. Often there will be these parts that show up that don't feel safe in choosing ourselves. It's this identity that begins to collapse of maybe being the good person or being unselfish, and that makes you a good person. And so it's so important to understand first the stickiness that shows up, the resistance that shows up in being able to make these decisions. And then secondly, reminding yourself of two really important pieces here, that when you begin to make these decisions for yourself, one, this actually has a beautiful ripple effect on the people in your life because they get to feel this energy. You know, when you are making decisions that feel good for you, that allow you to feel a deeper sense of connection within yourself, that allow you to feel greater clarity, more openness, more expansion, greater fulfillment, that energy gets to have a ripple effect in your life and everybody else gets to feel that. And secondly, when you make decisions for yourself, when you make your needs a priority, this doesn't make you selfish, and it actually teaches others that they get to do this also. Because so many of us are waiting for permission. So many of us are waiting for permission to live our lives, to do the things that we know on a deeper level will feel good. But there's a fear there, there's resistance there. And when you begin to do this, you start to let others feel permission to be able to start to do it in their lives. Oof, feels good. So I want to bring up this really important piece, and this is a deeper truth that has come through from the records more recently that I want to share. I actually shared this in my March energy forecast that I do on my YouTube channel. And it's so cool because the records always have these the Akashic records always have these really cool analogies that they provide, these deeper understandings when it comes to this soul path, this soul journey. And it's important to understand that you can never actually make a wrong decision on your path. Let me repeat that. You can never actually make a wrong decision. And we might think that we'll make a decision and it will be wrong because it brings up challenges or it brings up pain or it's repeating a pattern. But truly, there's two types of decisions you can make. One, you can make a decision and then it creates greater smoothness or flow in your life. And this decision would be, you'd be able to see this decision as maybe in more alignment for you. And then you can make a decision that actually creates more contrast. And we will think that that's actually a bad decision or a wrong decision that we made, when the truth is that decision also is really right for you. Why? Because it will bring up, there will be an opportunity in that contrast of what it will bring up. And these will be deeper things like maybe pain, fears, doubts, limiting beliefs. And so even in that wrong decision, the contrast that it will bring up will be an opportunity for you to dig in deeper, clear whatever that is, in order for you to have a deeper connection within yourself and be able to make decisions that are more in flow. And so no matter what decision you make, it's always the right one for you on your path. And what I have come to truly understand is, even if you're making these decisions, and this is where I've gotten really curious in the Akashic Records, I've asked them a lot about free will versus soul destiny. And what they have shown me is our souls come here with an idea of how the journey is going to go. You could think of this as your soul destiny, that there are these things that you will experience no matter what. But how free will comes into this is that you're human inside of you. You still get to make choices on the human journey. This is the free will. However, this is a cool piece that they've shown, is if we start to veer quite a bit off that soul journey path from the choices that the human in us is making, this is when the universe often will show up with the universal 2x4 and hit us back on track. You could think of that as like the rock bottoms that occur, where maybe we will have been feeling the nudges, or we've been hearing the whispers, and maybe we've been ignoring them, or we haven't known what to do with them. And that rock bottom, that universal 2x4 will hit, and we will be forced to look. We will be forced to clear, shift, heal, move through those pieces. And in that process, we get into deeper alignment with ourselves. And so truly, you can never make a wrong decision for yourself. And let that bring you peace if you're trying to make a decision on your path right now. No matter what decision you make, it's always going to take you where you need to go. And if you remain open in the process to see what is showing up, what you're needing to see, what needs to be understood, then you're doing exactly what you need to do on your path. So when it comes to my journey, making hard decisions, I have had quite a few that I've had to make. And the three biggest ones that come to mind as I'm talking about this, one was my separation with Max and Zoe's dad. The second one was leaving my 13-year teaching career. I taught high school and going full on into my business. And the third one was going on antidepressants almost 3 years ago and then coming off them last year. All three of these decisions were big. All three of them, I can honestly say I never found this moment of 100% certainty. And all three of them expanded me into places that I never would have thought possible. This is the truth when it comes to our hard decisions. And my opinion is actually, it's less about the decision and more about trusting ourselves in the process. Because within each of those situations, each of those decisions, there was always this quiet whisper, this quiet nudge that oftentimes I didn't actually want to listen to for a while until I really had to listen to it. And that is pattern for me on my journey. This is important when it comes to our hard decisions, is you'll start to see patterns in how these things show up. And this is going to be something I explain in a little bit. Ego, fear versus soul intuition, how to know how it feels and how to discern. And for me, with all of those hard decisions, I had to spend a lot of time within myself, feeling, listening, grounding. I spent a lot of time going back and forth between my ego and my intuition, and that's okay. That's part of the process. Because here's the other thing is that I'm not a big fan of the saying like, be fearless, just break through the fear. Well, I think it's important for us to step through fear. I also am a big supporter of doing it in a slow, steady, safe way for our nervous systems. Because when we just bulldoze through our fears, this actually can create more mistrust in our systems. And so we want to be able to take time, especially when it's a really big decision. We want to be able to take time to spend time within ourselves, exploring our inner landscape. What do I mean by that? Like exploring what's showing up, all the different parts, fears, doubts, worst case scenarios. We want to take time to explore that and validate it, but then we still want to step forward on the path, taking the aligned action. So it's a delicate dance. It's a delicate balance of both. And something that I have really found helpful for me is this saying that I try to remind myself of, and I'll say it to clients as well, is you're most likely not going to be 100% on that decision, on that piece, especially the harder it feels. But can you be 90%? And this is really big because in that 90%, it represents the deeper certainty, the more dominant certainty that should be there. But also that 10% is also always going to be there because that 10% represents your ego. It represents the human in you that is going to want certainty. That's part of this experience. The ego is part of the human experience. And we can't push that away or fight it. I mean, we'll try, but we're not supposed to push away or fight that. It's about integrating our ego into our experience and not letting it be the driver, but letting it to be here because that's part of what makes us human. And so can you be 90%? And that 10%? That's the trust fall. That's the jump. That's the leap. That's where the muscle, the trust muscle, gets formed and the expansion occurs. Hi, my friends. We're going to pause here for a moment and just let you know if you're needing deeper support on the journey, some of the ways that you can work with us.
Hey, thanks for listening. It's Tess here. I know life's challenges can feel overwhelming, but through breathwork, there is a way to find clarity, release those stored emotions, and feel more at peace. I offer one-to-one group and online sessions, and I'm excited to share my upcoming digital breathwork audios, perfect for when you need support on the go or in your own time. So if this speaks to you, visit my website, tessrouse.com, or connect with me on socials at @HerUndearth. Let's breathe through it together.
Hi, friends. Christina here, helping you connect within yourself, develop your intuitive gifts, and tap into your deeper power and purpose is just some of the beautiful work I do with clients. I offer one-to-one deep dive soul coaching and one-to-one readings with your choice of an Akashic Record soul reading or an intuitive guidance session with Spirit. And if you're ready to go all in, I offer my soul empowered membership, which includes weekly live meetups, access to all of my online programs, my entire library of guided meditations, one-to-one support from me, as well as community connection with others on the soul journey. You can visit my website, rootsoflovecoaching.ca, or connect with me on my socials at christina.soulempowered. I can't wait to support you deeper on your path.
And now, back to the episode.
And so I thought it would be helpful to talk a little bit here about the difference between your ego and your intuition. And this is something that I've shared a lot in the different content that I provide. I talk about it a lot because coming home to my intuition, learning how to trust myself, learning how to even first and foremost be able to feel and know and discern what is right for me has been such a big part of my journey. And in order to be able to do this, you have to be able to understand the difference between how your ego shows up, your fear, versus how your intuition shows up. And there's going to be, I always bring it back to energy. How does it feel, right? And the more you can become the detective of the energy, the better that you're going to get at this. So to give you some key pieces here, your ego may feel like these different experiences. It may not be all, it might be some. And so see how some of this feels. When your ego is showing up, fear, there will often be a contraction occurring, maybe a feeling of disconnect. The energy might feel more frantic, more chaotic, fearful. I like to say you might notice it more up in your head. It feels more heady. The ego also really likes to create timelines, pressure on time. Like I have to do this by this time, or I have to figure it out by this time, or I need to know now, or it will future project or past ruminate. So notice the attachment to time. That will be your ego. Your intuition, on the other hand, is going to have a much different feel to it. Your intuition will often feel steadier, more grounded, more rooted, connected, felt on a deeper level within you. You'll often feel your intuition more in your body, not in your head. We don't think our intuition, we feel our intuition. Intuition also is slower. There is no attachment to time. It doesn't need things to happen in a fast, quick, frantic way. It's okay moving at a slower pace, and it will be quieter. Because once you get all the noise out, you clear all the noise, it's like your intuition will be this little egg, this little golden nugget that's waiting for you. And so those are some ways to think about how your ego and your intuition might show up. For everybody, it's different. This is where I find this stuff really cool because I teach a lot on how to tap into your intuitive gifts, on how to tap into your channel. And there are different ways that we will receive our intuitive nudges, our intuitive whispers. For some people, it's in the body. You'll feel it physically. For some people, they'll feel it in the heart space. You might have just a quick knowing. And this is a little bit different than the heady ego. It's more like it just drops in. So there's also different ways that you receive those intuitive pieces. So starting to become a detective of how that shows up is super helpful. And so I want to take you on a bit of a journey through a process that might help you start to have a better idea of the truth that's showing up for you, of helping you find deeper alignment with a piece that might be showing up. And so when you get a moment, practice this in your life. Let's say you're struggling with a decision that you need to make, or you're struggling to know what is right for you with something, or you're struggling, maybe you have an idea of what's right, but you're struggling to trust yourself. And so this can be a practice that you do consistently to help you build that trust muscle, to help you come back to that truth and feel it and notice how it feels and how it's showing up. So you'll want to slow down and you're going to want to connect to your breath. Our breath is our natural connector to our body, and our body is where we feel our intuition. Our body is the channel in how we receive. And so utilizing your breath to bring you home to this place, also utilizing your breath to clear any of the noise, any of the blocks that are getting in the way of you feeling that. So what you can start to do is take some deep breaths, noticing on the inhale how that feels going into your body, how that feels rising up through your body to the top of your head and the top of your crown. And as you exhale, following that breath and that energy down through your body, through your heart, your stomach, down to your root. And you can practice that a few times, following the breath up and following the breath down, and giving yourself a little bit of time to land, to settle. And sometimes this can take a bit of time if we've had a busy day or we've had lots going on. Recognizing that sometimes it will take us more time to drop in, and that's okay. And essentially what you want to begin to do is drop from the mind to the body, drop from the ego to the intuition. Expect that there's going to be a lot of mental chatter. Expect that there are going to be thoughts showing up. Expect that there's going to be resistance in dropping in, because the ego wants to avoid that. The ego wants to keep you separate. The ego wants to keep you disconnected and contained in a box that feels safe. And when we drop into the intuition, it's boundless, it's open, and it's expansive, and it's not contained. And there can sometimes be uncertainties there. And that's the exact opposite of what the ego wants. And so expecting that there will be resistance there. And remembering that your thoughts are not you. Your thoughts are a part of you. They are a part of this human experience, but they are not you. Can you be the observer of the thoughts without attaching to them? And so letting yourself work through any of the thoughts that are showing up, slowly letting yourself continue to drop into the body, drop into any physical sensations you're noticing showing up. And then I want you to bring up this question or this topic or this situation that you're grappling with, that you're trying to find deeper truth with. Begin to notice what is showing up. Where do you feel energy showing up? Are you noticing more thoughts, more stories surfacing? Are you noticing physical sensations, maybe the heart rate? Maybe you feel sweating, or you can feel uncomfortable, or just what are you beginning to notice as you tap into this topic or this question? Also noticing the pace of the energy. Does it feel faster, quick, frantic? Does it feel slower, grounded, rooted? Remembering the difference in pace when it comes to the ego and the intuition. Are there stories showing up? What you should be doing? What needs to happen? Expectations? Are there fears? Right? So also continuing to stay aware of the mental chatter. Sometimes that doesn't stop. And the point is to become aware of it, not trying to stop it, not trying to resist it, but becoming aware of it. And so just practicing noticing what's showing up, staying with the topic and the question, and continuing to notice. And after you've done that for a little while, then you're going to want to take some time and journal out or write out everything that showed up for you. This piece is really important. One, it's so important to be able to put what is showing up within us somewhere so that you can then look at it and have a better idea of all the different things that are showing up. There's so much power in being able to see what we are experiencing within ourselves. When we put it somewhere, that actually creates space from it, and it begins to lessen the attachment to it. You become more of the observer of all of that stuff that's showing up within you. And so you're able to have greater space and therefore clarity in understanding it. And the more that you're able to do this practice, the more you will begin to discern what's showing up, what might be more of the ego, what might be more of the intuition. And also in the process of going within yourself and beginning to listen, you build trust. And that is the most important piece when it comes to making these decisions. Okay, my friends, lots of stuff there. What I want to leave you with are some really important truths to remember when it comes to making decisions, especially hard ones. Okay, 1, you can never make the wrong decision. And if you need a reminder of that, go back and listen to what I said before about the truths that have come through from the records in regards to the decisions we make on our paths. 2, with every hard decision, there will always be fear involved. Why? Because hard decisions invite us to step out of what we've always known. Hard decisions invite us to step out of the comfort zone. And anytime we're stepping out of the box that our ego has created where we find certainty and safety, that's going to be scary. It's going to be terrifying. And the ego is going to do everything it needs to do to try to keep you in the box. And so expect the fear. This one is an important one. What is right for you will never miss you. And this is helpful when it comes to these deadlines, these timelines that our ego puts on making these decisions or on doing something. And you're feeling that sense of urgency, like, I need to do it now. First of all, you got to disconnect from that energy. You got to ground into deeper connection, slow down. Truly, anything that is for you will not miss you. And so even if you make a decision where you're supposed to connect with that thing, or you're supposed to do that thing, or you're supposed to say yes to that thing or no, or whatever it is, and it's maybe not in deepest alignment for you, that piece will come around again. It will. Just like how when you get on a path and you sometimes begin to veer off, the universe will always hit you back onto that path if you're too far off. That piece will always come around again if it is for you. And the last piece that I want to remind you of is that often it is not actually about the hard decision that you need to make. It is about the trust that you need to have in yourself, in the universe, in your path. And that with every hard decision, there is even just a little bit of surrender that's involved. And surrender is a hard one because in that surrender, you're going to be asked to release a little bit of control. And while releasing that control feels really scary, that's actually part of the expansion because we work in a reciprocal relationship with the universe. And when we can learn to surrender, when we can learn to release some of that control, especially of the things that we can't control, which are the things outside of us, and we take the aligned action we need to make, this is actually where the universe gets to work for us and provide us with so much more because you're not supposed to do it all on your own. And the universe is here to support you on this journey. Okay, my friends, I'm so glad that you stayed and you've listened to all of this. As a reminder, if you need support from Tess or I, do not hesitate to reach out. We hope that this episode on decisions and making hard decisions can be helpful for you on your path. We hope that you have the best day, and we'll see you next week.